Today, I am joined by one of our SVC coaches, Alex Jack. Thank you for joining us on What's Possible in the Moment.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I always love my Alex time, and you know that. So I am thrilled that we get this moment. So, for our listeners, and kind of for Alex too, I threw this out there to some coaches and said, hey, there's a lot of stress out there. There's a lot of stress in the world, there's a lot of stress at work, at home. People are feeling it on their mind, in their bodies, in their heart and soul. And as coaches who all come from a positive psychology background, we do share tips for well-being. We share tools that might help alleviate some of the stress that people are feeling. And I was thinking about, I'm like, coaches are obviously human beings who have to use these exact same tools that we're sharing with everybody else. So I wanted to create a series that's just a grab and go series that our listeners can use of our favorite tools as coaches that we use in the moment when life or work feel overwhelming. So, with that in mind, Alex, I'm going to let you take it away and give us some insight into the favorite tool in your box.
Well, I think once again, thank you. Now, as for the favorite tool, I have to say that I don't have one in particular, but because as you know, I am more leaning towards the quiet side, so I'm more in my head than I guess the average bear, as Yogi would say. But I don't try to think my way out of things. I think it's more about regulation.
Yeah.
So for that, I have like 5 or 4 different things that I do. So one is it's just grounding, right? Feet on the floor. It's just naming things around me, just to, yeah. And then when I do that, I stack that with breathing, and then on top of that, you know, I'm a musician. I love music. Music is not so much something that I just enjoy. It is something that I embody, and I also use it as a tool. So I have several specific playlists that I would go to. And the next thing I discovered, and I think we spoke about that briefly, one day I woke up particularly, I guess, irritable, just fed up with the noise. I turned on the news. I couldn't bear to hear people talking. I even turned on to watch sports, and I was like, everybody was yelling. It was just like a sensory overload kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I suddenly remembered planet Earth. Yeah. And so I started looking for it, and there it was on BBC Two, and boom, and I watched it, and I was just like sitting there, and I was like, oh, and it was just like David Attenborough narrating the whole thing, and then just the beautiful shots and it was just very, very calming, relaxing. So it's actually that one of my to-go things too now as well. And depending on where I am and the space that I have available, I visit, green and blue spaces.
Yeah.
That's it.
Love that. Yeah. I love that. So, a few things that I'm hearing there is at the very beginning, you were saying get grounded. And one thing is kind of looking around and naming what you see. I know some people will say, name what you see, name what you hear, name what you can feel by touch. And so, activating our sensory emotions so that we can get really grounded in the present. I also hear getting your feet on the ground, getting outside in nature so that you're seeing the green, you're seeing the blue. And then, as you said, watching this show that gets you feeling grounded, and then music as well. Anything that I missed in that recap of your variety of tools that you use at any given moment?
And the green and blue spaces. But if you notice also as well that they all kind of overlap, right? So even with the grounding and the breathing, for instance, I remember when I did EQ training, and we were talking about, like rubbing your fingers while you're breathing. And
Yeah.
that actually helped me kind of really focus on the breathing and just blocks everything out. So I say, yeah, breathing in a PQ, and then of course specific music, right?
Yeah.
Music also helps me drown out different kinds of stress. So sometimes I just need something calm and classical. Other times it's like, just a vibe that just keeps me just kind of like almost like a metronome, but just to focus on. And other times it's just, something to dance to.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of like rediscovered dance. Don't say this out loud. But the other day I was just, I was in the bathroom and a song came on and I started moving. I was like, and I asked myself, when was the last time that I actually just danced? I mean, and I'm not talking about like choreographed dance, but just being silly.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
uh, so it's just, these are just little things that you can do depending on where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the surroundings allow for it and other times maybe, you can't just dump on the table of the office and start dancing, but
Right.
you can sit at your desk and breathe
Yeah.
or just ground yourself.
Absolutely. You could
And
also do a little chair dance. Just sitting on your chair and kind of moving yourself around a little, or as you said, hop into the bathroom if you need some privacy while you're doing your dance.
yeah, and then there's the green and the blue spaces and the David Attenborough thing, and it actually one of the things that triggered that was I remember going to the Grand Canyon the first time I went, and I was just in so much awe. Right, it was just so amazing, and
Yeah.
suddenly dawned on me that I am just this tiny creature on this great big planet, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly all the troubles and everything else just seemed in relation to that just so small and tiny. And I was making them that big. So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
awe and gratitude are two things that also play a very big role. So those are triggered by the green and blue spaces and also the David Attenborough thing. So,
Well, and what I love about all the different things that you've brought up is they're all tools that have research behind them. And one of the things that we
yes.
talk a lot about is, self help is fine if it works for you, but often it can be a N of one. And so it might work, it might not work. And if it works, that's great. More power to you. However, when we're looking at the science of well being, positive psychology, it's an evidence informed practice, and meaning that there's a lot of research behind this. So we don't have just one subject that we're testing something out. It needs to be a significant study. And so all these things that you've brought up, Alex, are well researched, whether we're talking about that feeling of awe, whether we're talking about gratitude. Music, what I love is that that's a newer area of positive psychology that they are diving deeply into, is that positive humanities, and how
Hmm.
you happen to be a musician. I am not a musician, but I love listening to music. I love moving to music, and that boosts my well being. So I love that you brought that up.
And like you said, right, it's a positive music and it kind of triggers a positive emotion. And yeah,
Yeah.
when you have positive emotion, you got broader thinking, broader creativity, and it gives you a different change in perspective as well, I think.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely. All right. So these go so quickly. So I'm going to ask you to just
Mm.
name 5 things that you've brought up already. You brought up way more than 5. 5 things that somebody can do in 1 minute or less to shift their mind, shift their mood, and maybe even flood them with some feel good chemicals.
Feel good chemicals. Like I said, my number one go to, and I tell that to all my clients, is that breathe because you're already doing it. It's the one thing that you don't need anything external for. You don't have to go anywhere for it. You don't have to change your outfit. You can do it anytime, anywhere. And like I said, you're already doing it. And 9 times out of 10, we're just doing it without even paying any attention. It
Yeah.
is literally the single most influential thing I think that we have. Because I, first, if you laugh, you're laughing, it's breathing. When you're crying, you're sobbing. When you're angry, you're venting. So just sit down for a moment and just, you know, it releases the cortisol. It just dissipates it. And that's your number one. That's the number one thing I would say. If you're musically inclined, find your favorite song. Have it close by. Nowadays, everyone has a phone. I'm sure they have some kind of music on it. Have it close by and just listen to that. Um, these are simple, instant and don't require a whole lot. So grounding, I think that is it depends on the person because I mean I don't think it's for everybody, but yeah, it is definitely another simple, easy to do, easily accessible thing.
Or dance. I'm going to throw dance in there. Then you only have to do one more.
Talk to Eileen. Get yourself an Eileen.
Uh,
I think everyone should have an Eileen in their lives.
uh,
And I
gosh.
say that with
Wow.
all humility and sincerity. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Wow, that fills my soul. So thank you. All right, Alex Jack, I love being with you. Thank you for joining us on What's Possible in the Moment.
Thank you for having me.